welcome to Culturally Illiterate one-shots. I'm going with one-shots, Matt, because you said deep cuts, and Sean said one-shots, and Jason said either, and one-shots is a comic book term, so I'm sticking with that.
Fuck you.
Lost.
I do like deep cuts quite a bit, but I don't really. I liked all of the options we talked about.
Maybe we'll go back and
Comic
forth.
book nerds think you're the shit. Fuck you.
I thought he was going to quote Ice Spice. So
You're not
this
even
is a
the fart.
podcast where four friends talk about movies that left marks on them. We'll explain what this means in terms of like if you're somehow a long time listener, what this new format is and why I changed the tagline. But first, I'm your first host, Jake. And one surefire sentence you can say to get me to laugh is I got a lot on my plate right now. And yeah, this is going to be an interesting one because it's the first of a new format and I'm coming off some unpleasantness. So it's going to be a testament to what kind of performer I am if I can, keep some energy up. And that's also why I'm having a not a sponsor Tasty Cake Coffee Cake Ale. Not a sponsor. So my co-hosts are with me anyway.
I'm Jason, and I am the proud owner of now 2 cock and ball mugs since my birthday. I already had one in the Caucasian color. I was kindly gifted a more like light brown cock and ball mug on my birthday.
I can't believe you got multiple colorways.
It's so funny that I got the other one without the person who got it for me even knowing that I already had one in a different color. That's the part that really gets it for me.
Okay, us cock and ball heads call them colorways. I just would appreciate if you use the proper terminology.
Ethnicities.
Colorways. Human colorways.
Human colorways. That's on job applications and shit. Instead of asking for your race or ethnicity, it should just ask for your colorway.
Yeah, exactly. For monetization and legal purposes, this is a joke, as is the drinking when you're upset. That's a joke. Don't do that. Alcohol isn't cool except for some fictional characters. Right? That's
Here's what we can say. Here's what we can say. You shouldn't drink when you're upset, but I sure do.
I sure do. It's a joke if you're my employer.
It's not a joke if you're my employer.
Anyway, what's the rest of you two? Shut me up.
Well,
I was waiting for Matt for so long.
Matt always forgets his turn.
Yeah.
I don't know if Matt remembers Matt's name.
No, I do.
That was
Why did that sound? That sounded very pensive. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, he was.
Matt didn't have the confidence behind it.
He wasn't sure. He's a little nervous to tell us because he's not. Because if we ask him, he might not know.
No, I only know when you ask me.
Odds of Matt not knowing his own name are low, but they're never zero.
I feel like this is that part in the menu where the kid Tyler has to make food in front of the chef before he gets murdered.
And he just fucking cries.
That's Matt every single time we record. Every time.
I love that scene.
Matt's random bullshit.
Are you talking about scene from the menu?
Yeah, when Nicholas Holt's character is like put on the spot to cook and it's like fucking awful.
And he's like, "Oh, you're such a prick about food? You do it then, bitch." And
wasn't
then
his dish
folds
like
a lawn chair.
Something?
He folds like a lawn chair.
Tyler's bullshit. Yeah, and then I just Matt's bullshit. Good movie.
Anyway.
I cracked up at Tyler's bullshit though.
That
movie's so fucking good.
I'm about to watch Dune 2 for the second time tomorrow. And maybe even better, I'm about to have Raising Cane's for the second time tomorrow.
Oh, fuck yeah. Not a sponsor, but if you want to be.
Oh, they raised my cane.
Oh, yeah, they
Oh,
do.
yes.
Now, the only thing is I wish they had a spicy version of their sauce, but I'll live with it.
I know. That's the thing, though.
It's for the tenders in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a spice guy.
Every chicken place has like a spicier version, and it's always better. So really want Raising Cane's to have one because you know it's going to be
because
better.
it's like the one thing missing from their sauce. Their sauce is so good, but it like.
That's it. I like that their menu is just straight up like, how many chicken tenders do you want? Because you don't
or
have to
do you
think
want
too
them
much.
on bread?
And it's a lot harder to fuck them. Yeah, it's a lot. Which you get bread either way. Just it's a matter of do they put it in between or just next to.
Yeah.
But you know what? I be careful what you wish for because I think part of the reason they're so good is like nobody can fuck that up if all you have to do is cook the chicken.
Agreed, but I'm just saying if there was just one thing I could add, that would be it.
I mean, Popeyes is still good, and they have a pretty expansive menu.
And if I could take one thing away, it would be
That's true. That's true.
The fucking coleslaw.
I like coleslaw. I'm white, man.
I like coleslaw.
You're a traitor.
Yeah, I am a traitor. I'm a white person that hates coleslaw.
So 2 out of 3 white people on this podcast don't like coleslaw?
That's
right.
That's crazy.
Whoa. You said 2 out. Oh, wait, never mind. I can't math.
There's 3 white people out of 4 on this podcast.
I was Asian? Do I need to turn on my camera to remind you?
Matt,
yeah, if you didn't
aren't
remember,
a part of this
you forget what colorway he is? You forget Matt's colorway?
Our longtime friend Matt is actually Asian.
Do I need to buy you a freaking like dick mug of my color skin so you don't forget who I am?
No, you should just give him your dick.
I be for that. I want it, Matt. I'm waiting.
Should I post?
I want.
Oh God.
Matt, I want your dick. Moving on. I'm Sean.
Oh, you're the one who wants to move on. Okay.
I still have to introduce. We haven't even gotten.
We haven't gotten through introductions.
Jesus Christ. I'm Sean, and I gave Jason 2 great gifts within the past couple of years, one of which was a rag that says "Cum Rag," and another one was a shirt that says "My Little Cum Princess" on it.
How did you not include the fact that you got Jason the Master Sword?
Because that one doesn't matter.
That was one of the 2.
That one doesn't matter. The cum rag matters.
The cum rag is. I actually.
Sean's such a good gift.
I can see the cum rag from where I'm sitting right now.
I can see the cum rag from where I'm sitting right now. I hope you use it for.
I was gonna
purposes.
grab it because it used to be right here on my desk, and I was gonna grab it and show it to you, but it's not anymore.
Oh darn. Well, this was feeling good. You haven't.
I said I haven't used it. Unless.
Oh. I thought you said I haven't eaten. I was like, have dinner. I don't know. It's like 9 o'clock.
No, I did.
I should have eaten. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. This was feeling good, fellas. And I'm glad because, you know what? Before we get further, the new format, we do intend to eventually get back to our like Marvel DC watch through. But for the time being, we're going to pause and we don't know exactly how long this will go, but for at least the next 4 episodes, we're going to be rotating hosts, picking a movie that means a lot to them, and just talking about that movie. Today is my pick, so we're going to be talking about RRR, which we'll get into that in a minute. But since it's my pick, I also want to go fucking crazy on the Rex and open with.
Who is Rex?
I don't know a Rex. Erectile dysfunction.
I recommend it.
Anyway, go on.
The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I believe I recommended another Grady Hendrix book like way back in like the early days of the podcast, My Best Friend's Exorcism. But he is a great horror author. And for myself, like the Final Girl trope in slasher movies is like my favorite movie trope or just story trope in general. So the book is about a therapy group, a support group for women who have been through, who are final girls, and it's kind of in the context of like if these things were happening in the real world. So the supernatural elements aren't as there, but it obviously uses these like situations as a reflection of like mass killings and shootings that do happen in the real world. And then there's kind of a mystery at foot if someone seems to be going after all these previous final girls. But I found it like just such wonderful, fascinating characters, and as well as an intriguing mystery and some just good horror. So if you if you're a fan of anything from like Scream, Friday the 13th, Halloween, any of that Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, like you would love this book. I think it's probably my favorite book I've ever read as of right now. I'm going to recommend Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon, which I'm only halfway through and I thought would suck, but is actually such a good subversive spy show with Maya Erskine and Donald Glover have just like unreal chemistry. And then I'll wrap it up by recommending Heroescape, which
Oh my fucking god.
listen,
Fucking course.
it was a game that was from my youth that I played so much growing up and then got discontinued when I was like probably 11 or 12, about 12 years ago, or I don't know, no more than like 14 years ago, it got discontinued. Thought it was dead. Would play massive games of it here and there with, friends, including, some of these guys here from here and there. And it's coming back against all odds. So if you like strategy games, if you like miniatures, if you like fantasy or sci-fi or anything, it is a very, very accessible, easy to learn, hard to master type game. Please buy it and support it if that sounds good to you. Heroescape, because I don't want it to go away for another 14 years because I think it's the greatest board game ever created. And I have so many fond memories attached.
My God,
that's all I got now. I'll leave it at those three, but like very emphatic about all of them.
I have a rec as well.
It's my episode.
All right, never mind. I'll go fuck myself.
I'll watch.
What is it?
I Knocked Loose, a metalcore band from Kentucky, released their new song "Blinding Light" from their upcoming album "You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To," out May 10th. And it's like every time that Knocked Loose releases a new song, it's like the first time I busted a nut all over again. So if you like heavy music, just go to their page on your DSP of choice and just hit play. 'Cause they don't have any misses.
That because they're all men?
Well, they are, but they don't make good music because they're men, because women can also, Sean.
No, you said because they never make misses.
I understood.
I also have a rec.
That's
you should
my
probably
episode.
know what. You should probably recommend. I should probably know what I'm going to recommend based on what I said earlier. But I recommend Dune 2 because the movie is fantastic, and I'm seeing it for a second time because it's just that good. I'm not going to say
it
much.
With me because I haven't seen it yet.
Exactly. I'm not going to say anything yet about.
I recommend spoiling the whole thing right now.
You can do that. You can be that friend, Sean, if you want to, but I'm not going to. But the movie's fantastic. It is wonderful. It basically is what it markets itself to be. It's a part 2 of Dune, and it's just as good, if not better, than part 1. Although that's to be expected.
Wait, guys,
and that's what I'm going to say.
Do you guys think a little bit of live on-air planning now? I'm not cutting this out. I'm gonna be on a time crunch to edit. I'm going to Vegas. So is Jason. But maybe after we go through our 4 picks, doing movies.
Sure.
We've only got.
We don't need to commit right now, but if we're not picking up the.
Are we talking about the
No, God, no, not David. Look, David Lynch is a fantastic filmmaker. David Lynch's Dune fucking sucks.
We watched that together, though. And it has that guy in it.
That guy.
Who the fuck is that guy? Yes.
Yeah, Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah.
Something like that.
His face makes me a little uncomfortable.
Great actor. Got a good Paul.
Oh yeah, fantastic actor. I just have
oh my God, we should
about his face.
We should talk about Dune and have Casey come on.
Oh my God.
I think
it would go so off. It would go so off the rails.
It would be 5 hours long.
I know, but that would be so good. The Dune market's hot right now, baby. We are cashed in.
We gotta
We gotta cultivate desert power. All right. Anyway, Sean, you got any recs to take attention away from me on my episode?
I have one rec, and that is if anybody's ever heard of the YouTuber Joel Haver, very
I have.
very sweet guy. He does a lot of comedy stuff, a lot of skits, and had some of his stuff stolen by SNL. But he has recently in the past he's released like full-length films on YouTube. And has recently gone into a thing where I believe this year he is releasing a feature film every single month as like a challenge for himself. So
Yeah.
I recommend watching some of his films because they're actually pretty good, despite them being like these within this like small budget kind of like film, but they're all really good. I especially recommend I believe the one is called Pretend That You Love Me, and it was very good, very sad. So yeah, he's a very sweet boy. I like him.
Just that title made me sad.
It is sad,
right? It sounds it. You know what is filled with every emotion though? RRR. So yeah, my pick today, like if you had to make me choose one movie for my favorite movie of all time, I would tell you RRR. It released on March 25th of 2022. It was written by Vijayarandi Prasad, S.S. Rajamouli, Sai Madhav Bora, and Madan Karki. Listen, we established I'm white, so just going forward, if I say a name wrong, I'm sorry. Shot by K.K. Senthil Kumar. Music by M.M. Kiravani, who I wanted to shout out because we don't always mention the composers for these movies, but every song in this thing fucking rips. So there you go. Starring N.T. Rama Rao Jr. as Kamaram Beam, Ram Charan as Alluri Sitarama Raju, or just Ram, Ajay Devon as Venkata Rama Raju, Alia Bhatt as Sita, Olivia Morris as Jennifer. Women don't get last names apparently. Rafe Stevenson as Scott Buxton, and Allison Doody. D-O-O-D-Y. She's white. Doody. This isn't. And you know what? For the character, it fits as Catherine Buxton. Anyway, I want to know, how did you guys first hear about this movie and first see it? But Sean, because ours are. Could you wait to go after me because this is my fucking pick, and our first viewing experience is the same.
No, fuck you. I'm going.
Yeah,
first.
we don't want to step on Jake's main character syndrome.
Hey, it's my pick. This is my favorite movie.
This is my movie.
My movie.
No one's going.
I mean, like,
well, you wanted to go, so go.
I was just saying to Sean for wait for me because Sean and I saw it together. I heard about this movie from people on Twitter, from like film Twitter people that like come up as recommended all the time, and then largely from the YouTuber, filmmaker, film essayist Patrick H. Willems, who raved about it, and I was kind of like, do I want to go see an over 3 hour like it was coming at a time in my life where like I don't remember exactly what was going on, but it wasn't easy for me to make time to go. Like it was only playing in a movie theater that was farther away from me. It was like a 45-minute drive. So I was like, do I think I was working 3 jobs at this point. So it was like, do I have time to go see this over 3 hour movie? Do I have the energy? Like, listen, don't get me wrong. Watch foreign film, watch subtitled films. I think that's a really important way to like expand your mind for like art and society. But you don't always have the energy to read your movies, and I just didn't know if I had it. But finally one day, it was actually the night before my birthday, I was like, I want to go see a movie. This is playing. I don't know how much longer, because at this point it's been like out almost a month, and how much longer is this thing going to even play around us? So I texted Sean like that night and was just like, are you doing anything? I want to go see this. Like, I heard it's a historical epic and it's over 3 hours. Are you down? And Sean, being the great friend that Sean is, was like, yeah, sure. So we went and saw RRR, and I don't think I shut up about it for at least 2 weeks because like when I say if there is a human emotion I felt it during the course of this runtime, I mean it. It was one of the best theatrical experiences of my life, and like the drive home afterwards, like the long drive home from this kind of far theater with Sean, just being like, "Did you see that?" And oh my god, how do you forget? Because every time you think it can't top itself, it fucking does. So that was my first time.
My first time was what the fuck? They had it released for like they did a re-release in a couple theaters near us, and Jake was like, "You have to come see this." And I barely know how to read, and I'm exaggerating when I say that, but not by much. So like I'm like, look, I acknowledge that I probably would love a lot of foreign films if I watched them and read the subtitles. I just am bad at doing it, so I don't. But I was like, all right, you fucking clearly are all in on this movie. I'll see it. I'll see it with you on this re-release. And I was enthralled throughout the entire film. I have a short attention span. Like I said, I'm not a strong reader. And when the subtitles are going fast, sometimes I can fall behind. I'll admit it. But I was locked in.
Yeah, I was mostly on the same boat. I was just hanging out, and then one day, Jake just wouldn't shut up about this 3-hour Indian epic as he so called it. He just would not shut up about it, and says, "Matt, and I think it was also Jason, you have to see this movie as soon as you can." And he said, they're doing a re-release. You are going to watch it with us. And I said, fine, let's just do it. It's a foreign film. It may be 3 hours, but I'll be with my friends. And I was enthralled by the first hour, because the first hour was the intro to the movie.
Oh, every hour of this movie could be like its own short film.
It honestly could have been a trilogy. The movie was that dense. And
but it's better to be as
by the
dense
first
as it
hour,
is.
I understood why Jake was hyping this movie up so much. Like, I just kept thinking to myself, there's no way the movie could be that good, because I don't know. Like, I have watched some Bollywood movies, and they have always been entertaining to me, but to the point where it becomes like one of my best movies of the year, that was tough. But hey, prove me wrong. Jake was right. The movie was fantastic.
I guess I can go into mine now.
How did you feel when I asked you to see this?
I remember when to preface this, I'm game for watching anything. There really isn't a situation where if somebody asked me to like watch a thing, I'd be like, no.
My sex tape, please, my sex tape.
Yes. I would probably see any movie. So like, I didn't have any expectations going into this at all because I knew nothing. I just knew that it was an Indian film, had no other context other than that, and then you told me that like it's some historical like epic, and oh my god, this movie changed me. There has never been a point where I've come out of a movie and it like has changed my perspective of what movies can be, and this one my god, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it, and that's a testament to just how magnificent it is. It's oh my god, like I remember coming out of that and being like, I have so many words that are just in my head that I just can't get out because there's just so much. And like I remember we were the only two like white people in the theater. So it was really fun.
That's true. That was funny. We were the only two. It was like a pretty decently filled audience, but it was like The one theater that we went to shows, it's like the only one like sort of near us that shows like a good amount of foreign film, and they also in general show a lot of like Indian film. Because I guess I'm assuming there's just like, an audience for that in the area, which is awesome. But then the second time we saw it, it was at a different theater, so maybe it's just based off of where we saw it. But I think like it was on the like one weekend only re-release that they did no, it wasn't IMAX. God, I wish. But I think at that point it had like fully broken it was already making the noise on like, like the film circles on social media or whatever. But I think it had like fully kind of broken it out of its niche of like Indian people, to be honest. And like I remember going and seeing it the second time, and now the theater was like largely white or at least not Indian. Which yeah, I mean, more people absorbing more culture. I mean, that's wonderful. But yeah, it definitely was funny just in comparison, those two viewings.
It was. I just remember too that like we were cracking up during the movie. It was we were so enthralled. And like I just remember everybody else in the theater was like super serious watching this movie, which I was so surprised by, just the difference between like the viewing experience from like one person to another. How they're like, we're sitting there like, oh my god, this is insane, like this is so good. And you can tell that like obviously the rest of the people in the movie theater were enjoying it, because they're like sitting there, eyes aren't taken away from the screen at all, but they're taking it so seriously. One of the things that I also wish that we got, that this movie had in between, was a what is it? Why am I forgetting? My brain just, I'm forgetting the term for it when they have like that intermission. God, I don't know why that wasn't coming to me. When this movie had an intermission and like it just skipped past it for us. I really wish there was an intermission so I could process what the hell was going on. It would have been the weird, like it wouldn't have helped me process things, but it sure as hell would have made me go like, what happens in the second half?
The movie's like getting punched in the face, but you have an open wound on your face, and on the fist there's cocaine, so you just got cocaine right into the bloodstream. Like, it was a fever dream. And the whole second viewing, I just kept looking at Matt and Jason and being like, are they responding? And they were responding the same way me and Sean did, because like, I wanted to run through a brick fucking wall after watching that, and all through watching it. It is the only time I've ever like I felt like I had to hold myself back in a movie theater from standing up and being like, whoa! Like, it was insane.
Okay, I need to tell you guys who are listening how this movie starts and why, even though the movie hasn't even gone through the freaking title screen yet, and yeah, I'm so pumped up. So this takes up the whole first hour of the movie. It introduces the first two characters. What were the names again? One's Beans, the other one's, what was it?
Rom.
Yes, Rom. So I believe they first introduced Rom. So when they first introduced Rom, it's in the middle of a riot against I believe it was like some kind of UK embassy, and Rom is one of the security guards, and he sees one of the protesters throw a rock at, I believe, one of the ambassadors or UK representatives. And so what he does is he jumps over a 20-foot fence, fights through an entire crowd of protesters, makes it look badass while he does it, grabs the protester, puts him through the gate, and intimidates the crowd with a stomp. And Bean's introduction is no slouch either. He starts by hunting a fucking tiger and having to use his Herculean body to keep the tiger at bay so they can kill it. And believe it or not, my explanations are just like scratching the surface.
Matt, they do
amount
not kill
of
the tiger.
They not killed? I thought they. Oh wait, no, it was a test
used
for another animal, and then the tiger showed up. Sorry, I forgot about that.
No, they weren't. They use all the animals, including the tiger, later in the movie when they invade the castle. with the animals.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what and they show like
oh,
Beam midway through the movie, like feeding the
Like
tiger.
feeding it. There's actually a scene where like so the full context is it's set in 1920 and Beam and Ram are actually like real historical figures. So for like I based off of analytics I've seen most of the people that listen to us are from America. So this is like but Beam and Ram also never actually met each other, like the real people never met each other in real life, but they are both like very important figures in India's revolution to free themselves from British colonialism. That and listen, the only bad thing I can say about this movie is it subjects me to see British people. But the backdrop is it's like kind of like the rising fervor for independence in India, and Ram is, at least to our knowledge at the start, he is an Indian man who is working as a soldier in the British Empire trying to get promoted. And yeah, like Matt said is 100% true about that riot scene. Like close your eyes and picture like the largest protest you've ever seen in your life, double it, and that's how many people Ram takes on at once and wins.
He's a goddamn one-man army.
But it is so unbelievable. Like, and you may be thinking, like, how do you coherently shoot that? You never lose them.
Oh
like,
yeah.
The choreo is insane. The camera never, like, you are always fully aware of what is happening. It is a gorgeous movie for every fucking second of it, and it's an achievement both in terms of visuals and also just technical prowess of like I don't know how they made, because the amount of bodies you see couldn't have actually been there, but it looks so real, and the fact that it's able to still hone in on your main character or one of your two main characters that's in the scene at the time is insane.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's so many parts of that scene where I think like, oh, this is where he goes down. Or like, oh, this is where it gets hairy, and then he just keeps tanking it, and not in a way that's like, all right, this is dragging on, like in a way that you're like, oh shit,
Somehow you believe it.
like it's like superhuman in a way that's like very believable and so compelling.
yeah.
And
I
you're
would-
like,
Plus-
okay, I know nothing about this guy. I don't know who he is. I don't know what his motivation is yet, because we get into that after this scene. But you immediately know, like, all right, he's driven and he's there for a fucking reason.
Well, the thing is that, oh my gosh, they do show him getting hurt, and they do show him like at the brink of being beaten to death. But what they do so well is show that he has the fucking will to move on and never, ever lose motivation. You can tell this guy is motivated and that he is moving out of sheer will. And it helps that he's like a superhero, at least like of some kind, because the dude's just on that fucking level. But it's not even just that. It's just that it also shows he not only has the skills, but he has the will to beat the fuck out of these protesters to get that one guy in the crowd.
I would give the world for a behind the scenes of this entire movie. I want to know how it was made so bad. Like, how do you go through the process of that whole, just the big, like, to preface, everything tops everything in this movie. It just keeps getting bigger and better, and that's how they start the movie. So like, I just want to know the behind the scenes of like, one, the creative process of like even just coming up with all these like bigger and better action set pieces. And then like on top of that, like just how do you make it like, it's impressive that they're able to keep the shot on Ram as he's going through this massive crowd, and you're able to understand everything that's going on, and there's not a single moment where I go like, I can't really tell what's going on. Oh, there's a bunch of shaky cam. You don't really ever like, there's nothing that you'd see as like a trope in here that makes you go and lose track of what's actually going on screen. Everything is legible and palpable, and it like has weight to it, and it's so impressive that they were even able to do that, and that's just the start of the movie. it just baffles me that they're like able to do so well like right off the bat.
I do want to bring up the one scene that actually comes before it, because like it would be a disservice to the scene to call it setup, because it's a very compelling scene in its own right and immediately has you like ready to like die for who become your main characters. But the movie does actually open with Governor Scott Buxton, played by the late great Ray Stevenson, rest in peace, and his wife Catherine visiting this like remote forest community. And basically this little girl, Molly, sings a song to Catherine, and she's like, "Oh, I like your song. I'm gonna buy you now," which is heinous. And also she gives them like the equivalent of a penny, and just like takes this girl. And then when the mom tries to chase after her daughter, she gets like, she gets in front of the car, they stop the car, and she's about to get shot when Governor Buxton gives the most like evil, vile, racist monologue I've ever heard about how an English bullet is not worth being spent on Indian blood.
Oh
And
my
instead
God.
they just like beat her with a wooden club and leave with her daughter, who's
And it
like
is, like,
7.
It's one of those things where it's like, credit to the writers, because it's like you hear it and you're like, fuck, I did not realize how racist someone could be in like one sentence.
But oh
And
my
it's
God,
like,
I love how thematically they continually come back to that
oh yeah,
throughout
which
the
is
movie.
beautiful.
And it's so great. The payoff from it, which I guess we'll get into later, but like is so fantastic, and I love it.
And then that's
Also, I had
where
no idea that the evil wife of the, what was this guy name? So it was like Buxton or
Governor
something.
Scott Buxton and his wife is
Governor
Catherine
Buxton.
Buxton.
So I didn't know that Catherine Buxton was really, her name was Elsa in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I had no idea.
Wait,
Yeah,
she's
right.
the Nazi
See,
woman?
you didn't see Sean's face, but it's her, unrecognizable. But it's
Huh.
her.
I didn't know that. Well, good. She's good at playing evil racist bitches.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised at the people they have in this movie.
Like, and then
Yeah, they have Punisher and Elsa from Indiana Jones.
And if anyone's curious, by the way, on where the movie's title comes from, in terms of people like in this movie, credit to obviously like the main stars and the director. RRR comes from like them being the biggest stars in India, and this is a movie from like Tollywood, which is the Telugu language area of Indian filmmaking, and them being like the 3 biggest stars making a film together, like the director and the 2 leads for the first time, was such a big deal because they love and appreciate film so much there, which I just respect the hell out of. Like that they just named the movie RRR for like their initials, and then like backtracked it from there because they're like, that's all you need to know, that it's these guys, and they're fucking right. But that's where you get Beam's motivation, and he's like the protector of this community. So his whole mission, you see him capturing the tiger, which you eventually comes back later, is to hunt down the people who took Molly and get her back. And he will stop at absolutely nothing, as evidenced by out-muscling and outrunning a tiger. And then apologizing to it for what he has to do, knocking it unconscious. And like what character, the determination, the kindness. I mean, and both Beam and Ram are both the burliest, handsomest men you've ever seen in your life.
Oh my God, they're both hot. They're so hot. It's
Ram,
I would give everything for either of them just to
when
be
his
near
hair's
me.
long at the end, dog.
Oh,
We'll
dude,
get to all that.
when he's in his like final form,
We'll get to all
And
that.
he's dressed like his like namesake god. Okay. I mean, from there you kind of get a lot of like I have the plot synopsis in front of me, but I'm just kind of flowing because I don't think I need it, and I think it's a lot more fun without for something like this. But you kind of just you see a lot of examples of the kindness within the local community as Beam goes undercover with a Muslim family who takes him in and hides him while he tries to find where Molly is. And we see a lot while Ram grows frustrated with the fact that despite all he's doing, as we just talked about, him being like a one-man army, not getting promoted within the British military, and the continued cruelness of the British and colonialism on, the indigenous people of India. This is also pretty, like, for context too, if you don't know about like the Indian-Pakistan split, that was originally one land, and then basically when Britain did pull out, they arbitrarily split the country. Here's Pakistan for the Muslims, and here's India for Hindu people, but also we're just going to do the line, and wherever you wind up, you're kind of stuck. So there's still, like, while like Hinduism is still like the large majority in India, there's like millions of Islamic people that are got separated from their families because Britain decided to be just a little extra evil as they pulled out.
They just gerrymandered for no reason.
I mean, and this is all to say, like, the main theme of the movie is anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism. I will say, I do want to bring up, there has been dialogue and discourse about the movie, and if it's nationalistic, I am not well versed enough in Indian politics to like have a firm statement on that. There is a lot more people who are Indian, that have Indian film critics that have written about that, that I recommend to, like, hear their thoughts. But for me, it reads as patriotism, not nationalism, which I think like the distinction is important. I think it's like, from the U.S. perspective, I think it's the concept of like all men are created equal is wonderful, and believing in that is fine. But it's a huge difference if you're nationalistic, where you think you're superior, and when you can't criticize the actual execution, yada yada yada. For me, I know Hindu nationalism in India has become a big issue the way Christian nationalism can be in the U.S. But for me, like, one of the things that I really like, even if you want to say there could have been more of it, is like it being a Muslim family that takes Beam and helps him hide. And for me, like, I don't know, I didn't know on watching, though I am again not aware of all of the politics and therefore all the imagery. I watched this and just felt like it was like a fuck colonialism and fuck the British, it didn't feel problematic to me, but also, again, there's people more knowledgeable. But I just don't want to delve too far into it since I'm not that knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know. It started to come up. I wanted to ramble and address it.
She said.
It's important to address. Yeah, it's important to address, but it's, something that we're not very well versed in because, none of us are from
addressed, but we're not the ones that should address it.
Yeah, exactly. There's great people
that experts handle that.
Anyway, so you see all of this, and it's also you meet Jenny, who is like the one nice white lady, British lady in the movie, who shows kindness to a man who's being assaulted by an officer. And Beam is immediately infatuated with her. And then, let's just jump ahead to guys, tell me how you feel about the scene where Beam and Ram meet. Somebody describe it for me.
Epic. Fantastic. Every single positive adjective that I can think of.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna, like, not that I forgot about it, but, like, I only watched this movie that one time in the theater, and just so much shit happens in it that, like, this one just wasn't, like, at the forefront of my mind when I was watching, and then it, like, was coming up, and I was like, oh, shit, that's right. This is what's about to happen. And they fucking, like, they save this kid from fucking drowning, right? Because there's a train that's exploding into the ocean. And
he's surrounded by fire.
And he's surrounded by fire and on this little shitty boat, this little raft that he has for himself. And they, like, swing themselves. They don't even know each other. They just lock eyes and they're just like, you're a tank. Let's do this. And they, like, one takes a motorcycle, one takes a horse, and they go up on the bridge where, like, the explosion and fire happened. And they, like, swing from rope and grab the kid off, and then listen, this is the coolest part. While they were on their way down, they grabbed a flag. I was like, why'd they grab a flag? Then Beam is swinging into the flames and fire. He covers himself with the flag. I'm like, God damn, they thought of everything.
And they coat the flag in water first. Like, he runs it along the
Yeah,
water as he's
yes.
flipping.
Yeah,
And
I
it
forgot
leads-
that part.
It leads to the reoccurring imagery too of like the arms interlock when they save the child and they
Yeah.
pull themselves together under the bridge to hold themselves up until they can be pulled up, and like interlock arms. And that is like the main like image of the movie that comes up several more times. And
It's
but it
even
was-
in
I
the
couldn't believe
logo
it.
of the movie itself.
I've seen it. Yeah, it is. I've seen this movie 5 times. I can't believe it every time I see it. Every
It's
and that's every
so
set piece.
sick.
Every set piece in this, I'm always like, wait, what?
I
It's
still
like the
love
first time every time.
I still love that before, when they don't even know each other, they just start doing like fucking hand gestures, and they know this whole complicated goddamn
That's
plan.
They looked at
Worthless.
each other and they were like, that guy
No
looks
words.
like a unit. I know I'm a unit. Let's do this. Like,
Oh, they go, oh, he's him, I'm him, let's go.
yeah, exactly. Like they just locked eyes and they were like sniffed each other out immediately. Like,
And they have the most godly chemistry I have ever seen from two people on screen. It is insane. They mesh together
and
so well.
it's so funny because they act and look and dress super different from each other, but they also like just mesh together in such a beautiful way despite all the differences, both in their motivation unbeknownst to them, but also in their form of how they present themselves and behave.
Yeah, because all of this has happened so far. I feel like we've described a lot, and we're just kind of getting to like the meat and the heart and soul of the movie. Because like from here, you get this montage of their friendship, and it is the single greatest montage I've ever seen. And you may be thinking like, what about all the montages in the various Rocky movies? Those are great, not even close to this. And it's like to this song about how they're like two unbelievable beings driven by destiny, and they're the greatest friends of all time ever, but they're also destined to come to arms because they don't know. Like Ram at this point has gone undercover. He's found out like the only way to get the promotion he wants is to capture this dude who's looking for Molly, and he does not know that Beam is that guy, and Beam doesn't. So now he's undercover as just like a general citizen trying to infiltrate the uprising, infiltrate the revolution, try to find Beam, not knowing who he is, and Beam is trying to find Molly. So they're on like the exact opposite sides, but you're watching this and you're like, how can this be? I want to love Ram, but he works for the British. They have the greatest friendship I've ever seen in my fucking life. They're adorable. They do squats together on top of each other and race trains, and like it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. But the whole time, like Ram's trying to find the guy that he doesn't even realize is his best friend, and they're introducing each other to like Beam's fake family, and it's the sweetest thing you've ever seen in your life. But they're on opposite sides, and it's so fucking heartbreaking.
And because of the chemistry they have between each other, it just makes everything hit so much harder. They feel like they're real friends. They feel like they're just the best friends. Oh my god, it's when they eventually do get to the point that they find out about each other's, like, first it's Beam's secret, and then Beam figures out Ram's secret afterwards. But like during that initial like betrayal, it's like, oh my god, it's so sad. It hits so hard. And
Yeah. Because the whole time you're like, this is so sad that this is what is it gonna come to? First of all, I'm upset that it's gonna have to end in some kind of way.
it also is like so fantastic because Ram's whole backstory they don't get into until much later. So like,
You think it's
Yeah, so you have no idea what his motivation
Sean.
is, really.
I was gonna say you don't really know his motivations as much. They drop hints of it throughout the movie, but you don't get enough until like past the point of betrayal.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
you know Sita exists and he loves this woman Sita, but you don't know who she is.
And it sets it up so good to like it like drip feeds things in such a good way that makes you so invested in these characters. And like, I mean, you're constantly asking yourself, why is Ram so he, I don't want to say infatuated, but why is he so loyal to the British Empire when they're all so incredibly racist and are like
and evil.
absolutely hurting their people. So like, it's just you kind of like, there's got to be some motivation behind it, but you don't really know why. And then you eventually learn everything about like he's doing this for like his family and for his village and to hopefully like take down the British. And it's like, oh my god, this is like.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like paced so perfectly with the B plots of the flashbacks and cuts to his village and his motivation to where like I remember the first time watching it like thinking like he's got to have some kind of other motive other than serving the British. Like, did I miss something? And then like no sooner did I think that, like it started to unfold more, and I'm like, okay, now we're seeing it. And it started to click into place as they intended.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the pacing is so good. Like, I think this movie is the exact perfect length down to like the second, and like the edit is so good in how the scenes they choose, the way they're placed, of like constantly going back and forth between seeing their bond and then scenes of Ram just getting a little bit closer and a little bit closer to finding out who Beam is. And there's all these moments where you think he's finally cracked it, but he hasn't quite. And you're waiting for that, like, you're so ready for you're set up to think it's dramatic irony that you know something they don't, and that's kind of true, but then there's a whole other level to it that, like, I never saw it coming. For me, it was one of those things where it was like, Ram seems like such an amazing human being, but he's working for this evil empire. And it's one of those, like, I feel like most people have met someone in their life that, like, on the surface, they seem like such a good-hearted person, and then you find out something about them or like their belief system, and you're like, whoa, that doesn't seem congruent like, with everything else.
How does that make any fucking sense? You seem lovely.
And your brain wants to rationalize it, because your brain is like, I must be missing something about how they got from point A to point B, and they must be able to be like redeemed from this thing that I see, which again, I mean, call me crazy, but I think colonialism is wrong. Like, how can we get like Ram out of like betraying his people and like this, like, is, and not, you know, believing in this and freeing them. So I was so like ready for it to just be like, he needs to be like, is he going to change his mind? Not, is he actually a double agent the whole time? Because you seems like, okay, honestly, I just want to talk about Natu.
Oh my god!
So brilliant.
The peak of their friendship is Beam has like some interactions with Jenny that are really sweet and wholesome, and then he finds out that the place that the like royal palace where like Jenny is staying and the other rich British people are staying is where they have Molly. So he creates this like bangle to give to Molly so that she knows he's there and he's coming to save her. But without telling Jenny everything. So he does so, and they have this nice moment, and British people are racist to him, and he's telling Ram about it, and he thinks her name is Jenny, but she tells, and he's calling her Mesa, like a term of respect, and she says, don't call me Mesa, it's just Jenny, yes, and he thinks that's her whole name, and it's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. And like Ram corrects him and then like helps him go to this party that he's been invited to, at which point he shows up, this white asshole named Jake is being the racist piece of shit to Beam. So Ram steps in and is like, dude, you can't dance. And then they perform the single greatest dance number. I'm sorry, Priya, my fiance, who I love so fucking much and is so talented as a dancer. Natu is the greatest piece of dance I've ever seen in my life.
It's like so impressive. And like, listen,
it's a banger
I'm not
song.
a dancer. None of us are dancers. I'm not even someone that can engage in talking about dance in any meaningful way beyond just being impressed and enjoying the visuals and the art behind it. I can't talk terminology. However,
stuff they do with their suspenders.
What I can tell you is that the way that they shuffle their feet is mesmerizing. It's hypnotizing, and they move
One of the
those
greatest songs of
suspenders
all
around,
time.
and it's such a catchy song. And they look so happy, and the racist assholes look so upset, and that's good.
And,
That's
and
good.
it's
Well, the best part is
so
that they actually join
stunning.
in, and then they all
Yeah,
fail at it.
yeah,
Because the whole song is about how white people can't keep up, and in the literal sense, it's dance. But given that there's like this courtship rivalry going on for the scene between Beam and that asshole Jake over Jenny, there's obviously like clear innuendo there, which like I found from like the handful of like Indian cinema that I've watched. There's a lot of censorship in place about what you can do with like sexuality and sensuality, and Indian filmmakers are so fucking good at innuendo and like creating sexual tension even when they can't even show a kiss. It's insane.
yeah.
And this is that.
And while we're talking about the song too, like I gotta get my love of percussion in because I'm a drummer, and the way Ram starts beating on that platter and those rolls and those, oh my God, it's so percussive. It's
You know,
so
and this is
good.
that's another nice moment that to me speaks as it being about freedom and anti-colonialism more, and like the rising up of the oppressed more than it is about like nationalism, because Ram like flips the pan, like he starts it off with the drums and then he flips the like pan over to one of the drummers in like the British People's Band, and they kind of like share a look, that drummer being, I was going to say African American, but I guess he's British, the drummer being black, and like obviously it's not like between another Indian man, that is between a man who is from a whole other country, and it's brief, but it feels like this little moment of like, I got you, like, you know, we may not be from the same place, but we have a similar struggle. And like obviously the Indian is 1920, it's like post-slavery, but that doesn't mean that much in terms of equality.
Especially as he's
But
in the band
every little
probably
detail,
as a
yeah,
servant for the British
these
people.
people, it's just, and you could tell he's so happy like that these two dudes just came in and like are embarrassing Jake.
Right, because it's like, because
everything about
Jake's
this movie
like,
works.
because Jake's coming in, it's like, I feel like it's such a beautiful representation of how like art and dance and music and song and whatnot can bring together and bring people together and be such a impactful part of culture, because it's like, you know, the asshole Jake is up there telling him like how he should be dancing at the beginning, like, oh, you got to do it this, what do you know about this and this, yada yada yada, and then he's like, nah, fuck you, this is way more fun, and they're out there smiling, and they're not stuffy and boring like the British people were being. They're having fun and smiling and enjoying themselves.
It's almost like dance is supposed to be fun.
Almost like art is supposed to be expressive.
Okay. I mean, long story short with that is they're the Beam and Ram are the last two standing, and they're neck and neck, and Ram takes a fall so that Beam can impress Jenny. It works. He continues to play wingman. But ultimately, like, so we do get to the conclusion where Ram is getting closer and closer, and you all want to cycle back to say more about Natu, you're welcome. I'm just moving some things along. Ram is getting closer and closer to finding out who Beam is when he captures one of Beam's accomplices, who then throws this poisonous snake at him that there's like no cure for. So he's on the street dying, and this is the night of when Beam is planning this like invasion. Him and his people are planning to take these animals they've captured and let them loose inside the castle and take Molly back. Then he discovers Ram in the street dying. He stops everything to rescue Ram, to do everything he can to save his life. And he's like, listen, man, I've done all I could, but I gotta go, because here's my secret. I'm planning a revolution. Like, we're gonna steal this person back, and blah 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 blah. And like Ram, is like unable to speak, and his eyes are like bulging out of his head. He's so upset, and you think it's because he's just mad because he feels like that his best friend is the person he's been trying to find this whole time. But there's like so many more levels. So like, I'm ultra summarizing so much sick shit, but Beam and his crew get in, they let loose all these animals that kill a bunch of British people. They like impale them on deer antlers and like a tiger suplexes someone. They start throwing lanterns. Like, it gets like straight up like anime, like ripping shit out of the ground, like
I mean,
superhero shit.
My favorite part was when Beam flips one of the British guard and impales his arm on the deer antlers so that he can grab the key to get to what's her name? Why am I forgetting?
Molly?
Molly, yeah. When he's trying to
And
get
that
to
one
Molly.
guard. And that one guard has like a reoccurring role as like an asshole who's like specifically keeps running into Beam and being an asshole. So it's like so much extra satisfying that he gets like impaled on a deer. Like whatever. Like
yeah, and it's just like everything that we praised about, Rom's intro scene about how great the action looked, it all applies here. As much as the like batshit crazy stuff that's happening. And you might think, like, how is that, like, all happening in one scene and cohesive and, like, how can you understand, the spacing and where everything is and yada, yada, yada. It all is beautiful. It's choreographed perfectly. It makes sense in the way it's shot, in the narrative. Like, it's
it also
perfect.
helps that it's 3 hours long, so it doesn't have to rush any character interaction or introduction.
Agreed,
or
but it's like a
character
fight
chemistry.
scene with that many guards and your two main characters and a tiger and a deer and whatever the fuck else they got going on. No matter how much you space it out, it can be clunky, and they got away with it visually and story-wise.
People will say it's like writing 101, that like everything that you do should come back in some way, but it is just genuinely masterful how every little thing comes around, and like on repeated watches it really sinks in how much that's the case. But so eventually Rom has like worked himself to his feet, gotten his uniform on, which is like so perfect state. Like the fact that he shows up in full uniform and not just in like the clothes he was already in is like just such a good visual for like, and I don't want to hear shit about like, wasn't he dying? Like, no, it's so much better that he's showing up in this bright red uniform. And then now it's Beam's turn to be betrayed. Like, I can't believe you work for the British. So they have this like absolutely brutal fight that seemingly culminates in. Well, and at one point they're like wielding fire, like fireworks and fountains shooting water.
Yeah.
Like,
what was it? He was wielding a hose, right? It doesn't sound that awesome, but it was pretty awesome execution.
And it's hard to explain, but like they set off fireworks in it's like open air building, so they're shooting everywhere, and it blows up a fountain, and all the like tubing comes out, and then they're using it as a weapon, and it ultimately like sort of culminates with Beam like pulling these like rocks, like their blades out, and like in between his fingers like he's Wolverine, and stabbing Rom in the chest. Then as he leaps and is about to finally seemingly get to Molly, the necklace, this which Beam had gotten from the family that took him in for hiding, and given to Rom when he found Rom in the street dying as like a religious, basically like this is supposed to bring you like good health, supposed to bring you good things. Rom now uses it as a rope to capture Beam before he can jump off the roof and try to get to Molly and save her, preventing him from doing so. And now they're holding Molly at gunpoint, and that is where you hit the interlude. And I was like, how has this been half the movie? Because so much has happened.
But then at the same time, you're like, how are they going to finish this all in just half of a movie?
And I want,
you know what I mean?
And why? Yeah. And I was relieved. I was like, oh my God, I have an hour and a half left. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, but it's like so many conflicting feelings, because you're like, I'm excited for the rest. There's so much left still to do. How is this only halfway through? Because we've seen so much and experienced so much. It's like so much is going on through you at that point once you realize that you are 50% way through this thing.
It's oh my God. When you hit that halfway point, it's just I just remember it hit me like a truck, one, because it was like, oh my god, you've introduced, and we're skipping like so many things too, like so many small details. Like one of the things that I love is when Rom sends Beam on like a date with Jenny, and he sees the back of the car that's painted. He links up the idea that like he saw that paint on a guy who was earlier associated with like Beam, and finds the shop where Beam was working at, and like
Yeah, and
that's when he
he
starts torturing the one guy who takes the snake
well,
to him.
and you know what? That's one of the best parts too, because it's also really funny right before that, because he has that picture of the guy and he goes to the shop and he's showing it to everyone, and then he shows it to like the third guy and he's like, nah, and then the camera pans and he's just fucking standing right there.
I
And it's so funny. And then it's also a great scene after that. Go on, Sean.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, there's that, and then like when he has the poster and it falls into the
Yeah.
fucking water
I
while he's like gonna show it to Beam.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I laughed so hard when he's like, you can see the poster in frame and then it just pans to the guy who's on the poster. Oh, it's
There's so
funny as
many
shit.
there's so many small things in this movie, and it like even the things that you don't think are gonna be like the detail, like the minor details that you think are just like nothing really, and are just like they're just details. That's it. Like things are in movies is like set pieces, and you just have like items there to fill out the world. But like it's one of those things where it feels like every small little piece of detail matters, and not
Yeah.
in a way that like overcomplicates things or makes things like, although it is kind of funny how complicated some of the things go, from like I saw that paint before, uh
Yeah. It's complicated, but it's easy to follow.
and it's not like it's unrewarding when you realize that. It's rewarding enough that you go like, oh yeah. It's never something that makes you just like, you go like, how the fuck would somebody make that connection? And even if you do, it's fun because it's like, it's entertaining. It's so goddamn entertaining. And if anything, I'd see Rom as like superhero fucking detective. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If anything, it just adds to the fact that he's so goddamn good at his job and so driven and motivated for what his goal is ultimately.
we've only been talking about this movie for an hour, and we've only gotten halfway through.
It's crazy. And we didn't even talk. There's so many things we've definitely forgotten about, because it just came to me that at one point Ram is frustrated and just straight up punches a hole in like a sandbag, in like a punching bag.
Well, I was actually going to
Um,
bring that up later, but the thing is that we still have so much movie to cover, and it's already been an hour, that we could just talk about that later when
True.
we hear about Beam hearing Rom's story for the first time, because then we could just make a connection of the two.
yeah. Okay. So like speeding through a lot, but basically Beam's in prison now. Ram has finally gotten the promotion he deserved and wanted. But he's dealing with this inner conflict of what he had to do to his best friend to get it. And if everything he's doing is worth it. This crisis of conscience. And it really comes to a head when they want to make an example out of Beam, so they bring him to like the center of the city and get as many people as they can fit there to watch him get whipped. Catherine, who's just so evil, gives like a like barbed whip to Ram, and he just has to sit here and like whip his friend with this like spiked whip repeatedly in front of so many people. And Jenny's also up there watching, and she's gutted. And Beam just like refuses to kneel, and it leads to another great musical number about being like connected to the earth that birthed you, and never bending the knee to an oppressor, and it's so beautiful. And it's just a really good moment as he sings this song to the crowd as he's being whipped, and then as he like when he finally falls, it's only after he like reaches out to the crowd and they storm the fences, and like they have to, like, all the British people have to evacuate, and that kind of comes to a head of Ram being like, I need to do something, because clearly like there's more to this than I thought, and you start to get Ram's backstory of his father was a revolutionary, and he was this like prodigy with a gun. And long story short, the British find their encampment, kill more or less everyone in it, and he promises, including his mother, and he promises to his dad that he will do whatever it takes to put a weapon in the arm of every Indian, as his like last promise to his dad, where you get more of the imagery of the arms interlocking, but this time with his father who's had a finger shot off before his dad gets up feigning surrender before getting shot with the chest Lamia strapped to himself to allow Ram to get away, and that for like Ram's whole life, his only motivation has been to infiltrate the British army so he can arm the populace of India and help free them. But now he's dealing with like, is what I'm doing the effective way to do that? And is it worth what I have to pay morally to get there?
Yeah, it was a beautiful revelation where Ron basically realized that what Beam was doing was more impactful than than just handing a weapon to every Indian would do. Because I forgot how it was phrased in the actual movie.
He
But I
says
remember him
his dad told him to put a weapon in the hand of every person, but his song made every person a weapon.
Exactly, that was the line. And it was perfect. It was the perfect.
Yeah, I
It's like the
committed that
synopsis
one
of the.
because I wanted to mention it too.
Yeah, it was so good. And that revelation, you just see this like wave of calmness go over like Ram's face. Like he just had a revelation. And you knew what he was gonna do next. And you were very, very worried as to what was going to happen next because you know whatever Ron was planning is not gonna. It might not end well for him.
Yeah, and like that, so it leads to Ram's plan of he wants to try to free Beam, but doesn't know how. So he convinces the governor that like, hey, listen, you saw what happened. Killing Beam is just going to lead to his martyrdom. That's already kind of happening, which is something that is really powerful in a lot of campaigns for like freedom and independence. And so we got to execute him, and we got to do it in private. So he has them go out into the middle of nowhere, and he also has them bring Molly. So to say like, oh, it'll be really cool if we bring Molly, then like, oh fuck yeah, to see him die. And then he does all this to stage getting them like basically exposing his cover in order to free Beam, because he now feels like Beam can do more than he could. Though Beam doesn't understand this and escapes, still thinking that Ram is like trying to kill him, like not knowing that he was freed, and actually very nearly kills Ram before not having the heart to do it. And now he's like on the run, as desperate as ever, basically. And that is another like scene of like, I was watching there, you get like Ram gets like impaled at one point with like into a tree, and I'm on the edge of my seat, like, don't let either of these guys die, because now we know they are on the same side and they don't know it. And I just like, this can't end without them reconciling, which is so funny because again, these two people never met in real life. There's no historical record while they were both alive at the same time and were both key figures in the Indian Revolution. This is like if there was two founding fathers that had never met and then somebody made a 3-hour action epic about their friendship, or like two civil rights leaders who never met and then someone made a 3-hour action epic about their friendship. And maybe there's specific examples, but I'm not a history buff, so I don't know. But like, it's the equivalent of that in the US sense. So it just makes it all the more funny to me that I'm sitting in a like theater or on my couch or wherever I'm watching it this time and being like, oh my God, I need them to be friends again. And also equally being like, even we need to free this fucking country.
Yeah, and I will say I did some brief reading about the two of them, and when I say brief, I mean very brief. And I will say I think Beam historically was actually known, primarily his legacy is known as being a martyr for his cause. He was killed by a policeman, I believe. So so that's probably also some sort of nod to that, which is smart by the writers. That whole narrative of him not wanting him to become a martyr.
So basically, the way the movie ultimately kind of concludes is Beam's on the run with Molly. They're wanted fugitives. They're hiding out, and where they're hiding out gets checked. Basically, they've gone as far as they can from where they were last seen, but finally the British catch up with them, and they're seemingly about to finally find them in this like communal space, basically, when Sita, Ram's wife, is there and has like the genius move to play on the British racism and say like, oh, we have smallpox, you gotta go. So they all leave before they can verify whether or not Beam and Molly are there. And then, Beam is thanking Sita for this, and she explains her story and explains Ram's story to Beam, and he makes this connection about who everyone is and realizes now he's feels guilt because he felt Ram behind. He goes to the prison that Ram's been in, which, like, side note, we see Ram doing like pull-ups in his prison cell with like a full beard and long hair now. And then when he's given like too much shit to the guards, they throw in like this little literal hole in the ground and break and like smash his kneecaps. And then he's like, fine, I'll just pull myself and do sit-ups on the bar over the bars overhead because that's all he has. So he's sitting there doing pull-ups like that when Beam shows up and like sneaks in, finds him, rips the cell open with his bare hand, and they have what has now again become the new best. Every time I think it's like, so this guy Sage Hayden has a tweet about Dune 2 actually that I like, and I'm going to twist it for this, where it says like the best actor in Dune 2 is who's ever on screen that moment. The best action scene in RRR is whichever one you're watching or thinking about. But this leads to them recreating the moment where they were like squatting on top of each other in their friendship montage and doing this, but Ram's holding two rifles on top of Beam because he can't walk because they smash his kneecaps, and taking on like a whole like fucking platoon to get out of prison. Then we go to them in the woods.
By the way, real quick,
yeah,
there's one clip in that scene where Beam reloads the rifles for Ram
and gives them back to Ram
and hands them back out. It's so sick, and I just wanted to talk about that real quick.
Yeah, it's so sick. I'm just kind of speeding through the plot, but then you guys can circle back to whatever. Because like Matt was saying, like we gotta like to try to express it. So basically, Ram then dons there's this like statue that's reoccurred throughout the movie of like Ram's like namesake basically, and he like dons the garb of that as well as the weaponry of this like bow and arrow.
Yeah, I think it was a god statue. I think.
Yeah, it's a god. But so while the two of them are regrouping, like one more like whole other giant wave of British people come to try to get them, and now we get the new best action sequence. Where Ram is like, I can't even explain all, like at one point Beam stops a motorcycle with his bare hand.
No, it wasn't with his hands. He stomps a motorcycle approaching him to flip it, and then he rides it with Beam, who rides a fucking horse.
He like punches one to stopping at some point, I swear.
I think he kicked. I'm pretty sure he kicked it. I swear he kicked it.
No, he does multiple things with motorcycles. Thank you very much.
He also
there's a bunch of guys because there's a bunch of guys on motorcycles, which you see earlier in the movie he fixes. And then Ram gets his signature thing is that, and then Ram likes to ride a horse, which comes like at the very end of this action sequence. Some guy comes in on a horse and they just knock, and Ram like mid jump shoots him off and lands on the horse in stride, and it's so sick. And again, like also if you look at the conversion for this budget, like it's like a very small budget and everything looks gorgeous. There's a shot of Ram. There's a shot of Ram where he comes out, like when you see him for the first time in his like new outfit and with his like hair and everything, and this like spotlight almost comes up behind him like a rising sun, and he literally just looks like a god, like a painting of a god. And like just all like I can't like all the kills in this is when they do the classic like shooting an arrow into a tree and then kicking the guy's head into the arrow. there's so many good. Somebody just turns and the last guy just kind of like turns a corner into an arrow, and that's how he dies. Beam like hides underwater for a while and then rises out of nowhere with a spear that was actually like ricocheted out of a British person thanks to one of like Rom's arrows. Like, I don't even know how to do this justice, but it's the most show-stopping thing I've ever seen. And it leads to them basically killing all these people and going, now we got to call off the head, launching the motorcycle off a cliff into the palace where all the weaponry is held, exploding it. Catherine becomes like impaled, and as she's dying, the governor kind of starts to, yell at them. And Beam, who is not as important thematically, Beam has never fired a shot during this, gets handed a gun by Rom, kind of accomplishing both of their missions, accomplishing like Rom seeing Beam as being able to turn every person into a weapon, and now giving Beam a weapon and putting a weapon in the hand of everyone in that way, and by reconciling with Beam as his father wanted. And Beam is the one who takes the final shot, killing the governor, and we see his blood splatter across Long Live the British Empire. And then you get like an epilogue of Jenny and Beam are happy together. Sita and Ram reunite. Molly's reunited with her family. Everyone's happy. And we get an ending dance number with the whole cast and the director celebrating Indian independence. And it's fucking great.
It is. It's
That's
brilliant.
So
Yeah, it does sum it up. And God, they're just Beam and Ram are just such tanks, man. And it's so entertaining to see them just because like every obstacle they work together and find a way. The man loses his legs, both his kneecaps, and you know what Beam says? He says, "Get on my back."
It does a great job illustrating that they're stronger together.
Yeah, I don't know what it's hard for me to think of what else to say about it because it really is brilliant. But like you said, every action sequence is the best of the movie. Every shot is breathtaking. Everything, every little plot detail Rube Goldberg's itself into place. It's beautiful.
I'm trying to think of like other parts of it since oh my god, we went through so much. The deaths are. This movie is surprisingly very violent.
It's so violent,
it's very violent,
but it is because it's interesting because it finds the balance of like it's so violent and there's so much bloodshed, but it's still so impactful when it happens, and it also is like action movie Fast and Furious like cool parts, but then it's also like emotional and deep, and there's so many layers, and yeah,
this movie is like an ogre.
it's like an ogre.
It has layers.
I was like, what? It hits like every genre because like obviously it's a fictionalized story, but it's a historical epic. It is an action movie. It is a musical. It's a romance. At points, it's just like a hangout movie between the two of them. It's a thriller. There's a mystery. There's a detective angle. It has some like fantasy sci-fi elements to it. Like it's not. It has.
There are a lot of scenes that if you just totally isolated them and showed them to someone, they would be like, "Oh, this is like a buddy comedy movie. Oh, this is a rom-com. Oh, this is an action movie, whatever." But like when it's all put together, it's all of those things, and it's A+ at all of them.
Oh yeah, like when people ask me about it, like when I'm no movie expert. I don't think I've ever tried to like say that I am, but because of just like the volume that I watch compared to some other people, like a lot of people kind of towards the end of the year and the start of the next year with like Oscar season will be like, oh, what are your favorite movies? What are your favorite this? And like for 2022, my answer for everything was like, my favorite movie was RRR. The best action movie I saw was RRR. The best musical I saw was RRR. The best rom-com was it genuinely, like, I said it at the top. If there is an emotion that I can feel, I feel it in this movie. That, like, sense of betrayal when you think Rom is bad, the like new love feeling between Jenny and Beam, and then also that like rekindled, reunited old love between Sita and Ram. The thrills of the actions, the like heartbreak of when you think things are going poorly, when like Beam or Ram get captured. I'm scared for these characters. I love them. I'm happy for them. I want to just like hang out with them. I'm inspired by them. Like it runs the gamut of emotions for me.
You know what I'll say? This movie is also like the definition of like every time you think you're out, it pulls you back in. You know what I mean?
My jaw was agape the whole runtime. I think the first time I saw it.
I don't think there's a part where I was ever out of this movie.
No, I know, but like every time that you think like every time you think it can't go farther, it can't go deeper, it can't keep this up, it does.
I kept thinking it had peaked too early in the film and that the end was going to let me down, and it never does. It just keeps, it is a non-stop peak. Like there's no like the way it opens, you're locked in. And do you know how hard it is to keep someone locked in for that long? Movie
for 3 hours. I have a terrible attention span.
Okay, and that's the thing. Movie runtime discourse is so fucking stupid because like movies should be as long as the director, as like the writer, as they want it to be. And you know what? Sometimes I may think that's too long. Sometimes I may think it's too short. But like it varies. I've seen movies that are 90 minutes that I'm like, you should have shaved off 10. And I've seen movies that are 3 hours that have been like, you should have added 20. It's all relative. But in this case, the runtime is fucking perfect. And I do think just by human nature, it is harder to keep someone that level of engrossed that consistently for that long. And this movie does it for just over 3 hours. I am, even on my like fifth watch, I am locked the fuck in.
I don't know. I feel like they could have. I feel like they should have added at least another hour to this, and I would have killed for that. I can't wait for the goddamn sequel that they've talked about.
Oh yeah, I want to. They're planning a sequel, which is interesting because you're basing this off of real people. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't complain about a longer one, but I also don't want to mess with what, in my opinion, is perfection.
I just want more perfection.
It's like Raising Cane's.
Oh yeah, but that's why we get a sequel. Hopefully, that's good.
See, if you brought it back.
I mean,
full circle, just like the movie. It's like Raising Cane's.
Raising Cane's is like Raising Cane's. Why
you don't want to mess with it because it's perfection.
Was that on the recording, or was that before we started recording that we were talking about cane sauce?
I don't know.
It was before the recording.
I think it was on mic, but if not, we were talking about Raising Cane's earlier.
And that's another rec from all four of us, Raising Cane's, cane sauce in particular.
I could drink that shit.
Question for you guys, and listen, don't get me wrong, I love them both. I think they're both just perfect. But are you more of a Beam guy or more of a Rom guy? Because I myself slightly prefer Rom, mostly just because like the way they pulled me in and out on like how to feel about him, and like Sean mentioned, the like slow drip of information about his motivations and being just so upset that he's so lovable but he's working for the British, and then the revelation that he's infiltrating them, but oh no, he already betrayed his friend. Like it just, that got me so hard versus Beam, and they perfectly offset each other, but that just fascinated me. And maybe it was because he was introduced first, really more than Beam's kind of consistent motivation of like getting Molly. But again, like they both, because Beam starts off the movie, he's really just trying to get Molly back. He doesn't like the British, but he's not trying to start a revolution, and by the end he is.
Yeah, that's
his growth.
I love Beam, and because I just think he's so adorable and wholesome, and
no wrong answer.
But he's just so lovable at certain moments. Like there's one part where he just keeps asking Jenny if he can come to her house, but in a language that she can't speak.
It's so cute. Every interaction with him and her is so cute.
It's adorable.
Oh yeah, I love Jenny and Beam together, and I like they're not on screen together too much, but I really like Sita, and I really like Sita and Ram, and I think it's like a good, again, like balance between this, like Ram being separated from his love and and not being able to reunite with her until he accomplishes his mission, compared to like the new romance and the new love between Jenny and Beam, and then of course the fact that Jenny is like, there's a little bit of conflict there, and one, just the language barrier, but two, that while she is the nice British person, she is still, you don't know exactly how her allegiances are going to fall, though she obviously ends up being good.
I think in the end of things, I think Ram is the hottest. I would die for him. His face is so goddamn gorgeous. I couldn't stop staring at his face. But I think I like
that mustache.
I think I like Beam the most, just because, like, goddamn, the man is so huggable. He looks like somebody he looks like somebody I would just want to cuddle, man.
He almost like, it's like almost like a Seth Rogen vibe.
But like a wholesome kind
wild.
of a
wholesome kind of Seth Rogen.
Yeah. I just never would have.
I don't know. Wild. I have a compulsion to want to hug, or maybe compulsion isn't the right word. I would love to hug Seth Rogen.
I would too. He seems like a cool guy.
I love to hug Beam. I feel like he'll
probably
take a bullet if I try.
Right. Beam or Ram, Matt. Beam or Ram. And again, like, you don't have to choose between these two kings because they're both perfection. But just like, if you have to pick a slight preferred character, Beam or Ram. He's not answering. He's refusing the question.
Sorry, I got distracted by my cat. What was that?
Beam or Ram. And again, like, I hate to make y'all choose between two kings. They're both perfect. But if you have a slight preference on character, Beam or Ram.
It's probably Beam. Because of how
I'm the only Ram. I'm the only Ramer. All right, that's fine. I mean, I love them both.
They're both incredible.
They're both.
I love them both. I'm also a sucker of. It seems very implied that him and Sita have been together for a very long time, and as someone engaged to their, high school sweetheart, maybe I'm just a sucker for, that type of romance. Wow. I mean, what a good movie, guys. Like, it's weird because like this world. I feel like there's so much more I could say, but I'm also, like, quite frankly just exhausted right now.
This is a movie that, like, I could talk about forever. There's so much to it.
No matter what I say, when we hang up, I'm going to be like, there's a million things I didn't say.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a movie that leaves me the opposite of speechless, I feel like, while also leaving me speechless during the whole thing. There is not a moment in this movie that I couldn't talk about for hours, and I think that's, like, honestly, props to everybody who was involved in the making of this film. It's goddamn fantastic, and, like, they should honestly all be, like, so proud of themselves. This is not something I would ever have, like, this isn't a movie that I would, like, we're gushing over it, like, it's coming of Christ, Jesus. But, like, it's so goddamn good. It's just, it's so hard to, like, compare it to anything else because I feel like it does so much more than I would have ever expected a movie to do. And, like, that's
like, Jake kept talking about it and I really didn't understand. Like, I didn't know. I'm like, all right, brother, like, just simmer down, basically. And then I saw it and I was like, all right, I get it.
I know
if you don't believe us, just watch it, probably, is what I'd say.
I know I tend to overhype things. Like, I know I'm very guilty of that. But, like, I really don't think I did with this.
What you overhyped for me and I'll never forgive you for is Ghostbusters. Not, like, actual Ghostbusters, the newest Ghostbusters.
Okay, there's a context to that, but I want to keep it focused before we get in. I don't want to get derailed on my controversial hatred of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I don't hate that movie either, but that's all I'm going to say about it right now.
What I'm saying is I do not think it is humanly possible to overhype RRR. I think you can only ever undersell it. Because whatever you're thinking hearing us, we haven't done it justice. There's no way we've done it justice. And a quick anecdote, because I just remembered it. One of my favorite things related to this is once I was with my dad, and this movie's on Netflix. If you want to watch it, it's on Netflix. Unfortunately, it's not available in its original Telugu, but the Hindi dub is still pretty good. I mean, it's still a great movie. It's just obviously not optimal, as most movies would not be in their non-native language. Anyway, my dad looks at me and goes, just no context. And I don't know how he hadn't heard me talk about this yet, because it's been a little bit. Goes, I watched this movie. This was absolutely crazy. It was so good. You probably really like it on Netflix the other day. RRR. And the way my eyes lit up, and then I swear he had to be messing with me. Like he had to have heard me rant about how amazing it is, but he hadn't. He swears he hadn't. But yeah, I mean, that is just like just the thought of this movie just fills me with such unbridled joy, and just energy to again run through a brick fucking wall, to the point of listen, man, I don't want to get into it but I do think authenticity is one of this podcast strong suits. I had a rough night. And the amount that I has turned the fuck around, partially because I love talking to you guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you. But honestly, you tell me to talk about RRR, my day's good. I had a good day now because I got to talk about RRR for 2 fucking hours. Movie means the world to me. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I mean, do you guys have a favorite? I mean, I don't get I feel like I could barely ask you guys which of the 2 main characters you prefer. I can't sit here and ask you guys to say what's your favorite set piece? What's your favorite kill? What's your favorite friendship moment or romance moment? Because it's how do you pick? I couldn't answer any of those questions.
I would die for Beam and Ram. I would die for their
Oh,
guns.
It's literally impossible.
You know what I
to pick a
actually
favorite
meant
moment.
to mention earlier that I want to bring up is the facial acting in this movie without even any words spoken is absolutely incredible. When Sita is telling her backstory of her fiance being Ram, and we know that, and they, Ram
is realizing
Beam is realizing it, you can feel the expression in his face. And same thing with Ram when Beam is exposing his secret to him in the bed when he's been bitten by the snake.
Yeah,
you can just feel everything that they're thinking and processing without them even uttering a sound.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's needless to say that we all recommend this.
Incredible acting.
Incredible acting. Oh yeah, that's true. We didn't even talk about the acting much, but everybody in this movie kills it. Everyone's great.
Oh yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah, there's not really a single bad performance.
I can't I really again I mean, we can formally say it if you guys want, but I do feel it's pretty clear that we all recommend this. I mean, obviously I picked the movie, me especially, but I can't even, it's hard to narrow down a favorite thing. I guess I would maybe say not to just because if someone told me if you gave me you can show a person one thing from this movie to try to convince them to watch it would probably be not to because it's so infectious. There's actually a lot of things that, you can look up videos sometime of theaters in India watching this movie because it was such a huge cultural thing of people getting up and they had learned the dance before the movie had even come out and doing the dance together at the theater. And I've straight up seen people launching sparklers and shit in the theater. It was such a big deal. So I think if I had to pick a favorite thing, I would just say not to is the thing I would show someone to try to sell them on the movie. Again, I don't know. I mean, least favorite, I all I can do is a joking I had to see British people. I think the movie's straight up perfect. I'm in all of it.
Yeah, I would echo that pretty much.
Yeah.
With just slightly less enthusiasm than Jake.
I want to come after my brand.
Exactly. This is his movie and this is his episode.
I definitely agree that this is one of the top movies of 2022, but in general one of the top movies I've ever seen. And I talk about it a lot when it comes to like movies, but there's like a genuine and inherent part to this movie that like you feel like the passion for filmmaking behind it, no matter what scene you're watching, and like that's really hard to get across to like I feel to get across to like a viewer. So like honestly, it's just I can't say there's not enough praise I could give to this movie for what it does.
I'm just gonna echo what everyone else is saying. This movie is nearly perfect. It's also impossible to pick a favorite moment because the movie is just that good. And yeah, the movie is 3 hours long, and yet I wish it were 4 because of just how amazing those 3 hours are. It's just a ride that just doesn't stop. It's exhilarating. It's sad. It's honestly, there's no words to describe RRR. It's all the words that you could describe because it gives you so much. And honestly, go watch it. It's available on Netflix. And honestly, whatever you had planned for an afternoon, RRR will probably be better time spent, to be totally honest. So go watch RRR.
I don't care if it's 3 hours of sloppy toppy. RRR is better.
I will attest to that.
I really wanted to laugh out of that, and I flopped. All right. I'm realizing now also, just before we do the sign off, it's really awkward if we do one of these like episodes where we pick a movie and one of us like does not like the person's movie.
Oh god, that's gonna be fucking funny. But
it's gonna be so funny, but so like, listen, no offense, man, I love you. I get it, but it's not for me. It's not. Look, I think you got bad taste. It's just not. It's not for me.
I 100% expect it, and I know what movie I'm choosing for my first one, and I know people are either gonna really not like it, or it's gonna be like a really weird time for anybody who watches it. But I'm gonna be like, this thing's a fever dream to me, and we're watching it whether or not you want to, or not.
I know I'm gonna be the asshole. I just know I'm gonna be the first person who's an asshole and is like, sorry, man, hate your movie.
No, Jake, it's probably gonna be me.
My movie's pretty agreeable that I'm picking.
I hope is it a Wes Anderson movie? It's probably a fucking Wes Anderson.
Jason will tell us in a minute.
Die for that. I would love that.
Okay. Well, so thank you to Alo Fett, ALOFETT for the artwork. Alo got a YouTube channel as well. Alo Wren, ALOWREN. Go check that out. Thank you to Jason for the music. Jason, plug your music.
I'm making music. I'm working on it. I almost done an EP. It's working there. It's getting there. The Upsides PA on Instagram. The _Upsides PA on Twitter. The Upsides on SoundCloud.
All right. And please follow Culturally Illiterate on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Culturally Illiterate Podcast. Follow us at illiterate_pod for any socials. Reach us at culturallyilliteratepod@gmail.com. Questions, comments, whatever you want to do. Leave a review, follow us, all that stuff. Next episode will be Jason's turn to host about one of their favorite movies. So, Jace, please send us off with what that will be.
My pick will be the 1998 classic Jim Carrey film, The Truman Show.
Oh. Haven't seen. Oh, I'm excited.
So
I'm excited.
I love
something new to me.
It's one of my favorites.
So
it's one of my favorites.
Interesting.
Oh, Wes Anderson movies were also very much in contention.
Well, if we go back around.
If we go back around, I'll definitely pick one of them.
One of my
in my mind.
One of my ideas actually is like after we resume our normal format, when we get around to our birthdays, maybe for like whatever episode releases right before or like closest to each of our birthdays, we get to do a movie pick. But we'll talk about that later. But I'm excited for your pick, Chase.
I'm excited for it too.
Everyone wants to know what it is. It's The Truman Show. All right. Have a good night, y'all. I say that like the listeners, it's night, but and look forward to The Truman Show next episode. Goodbye.